Hello everyone, this is Ken from Verdigris Market Gardens. It is April here in Central Ohio, and aside from the siren, I'm going to give you a little bit of a tour of our small urban farm. It occurred to me that it's been almost a year actually since I did a plot tour. We were just getting started with a very busy season, and we've made a lot of improvements since last you visited. So I'm going to give you a quick plot tour and take you around the garden, show you what is new and what we were doing actually for 2019. We start with our beautiful pear tree arch that we're working on. Right now it's got a PVC frame, but we're going to be changing that out for a more sturdy metal frame. We found that last year when the peaches actually, or the pears set fruit, that it was too heavy for the PVC framing, so we're going to try something a little bit more sturdy. Down here are the beginnings of our blueberry patch. We planted 6 little twigs last year, and they had survived the summer, and they also survived the winter. So we're hoping that they grow slowly, although we'd like to have them faster. But it's not the short game; it's the long game. And then over here, we actually planted more mature blueberries, including a couple on the end of the pink lemonade. Hopefully, we'll have some blueberries this year. We're trying an experimental mulch, and it's called the chicken manure mulch. For us, it is the shavings and bedding as well as the manure from our chicken coop here at Verdigris. Since they are pine shavings, they will acidify the soil, and obviously the chicken poop is quite high in nitrogen. And since it's doing fruit trees, or fruit bushes, I don't think it's going to burn it, but here's hoping. I want to use something that we can recycle here on the plot. Planted in the part of the bed where one of the pear trees is, as we started our onion sets here, at least some of them. And we're hoping to get a lot of sweet onions, and over here shallots, and then white onions, and more of the yellow onions this summer. We had a great success with the white onions, actually pulling them out early as spring onions. This long bed here is where we put potatoes. So I put 3 different types of potatoes: Yukon Gold, a red potato, as well as a purple one. Further over is an asparagus bed that needs weeding in the worst way. Actually, it needs most of the asparagus from last year taken away before the new asparagus from this year comes in. And then this one is a bed that actually was weeded and cleaned out. So hopefully this one will start producing. We've seen a couple of crowns of activity, but not much, but it's still really early in the season. And as you can see is our shed. We had this put on the plot a year or so ago. It still looks great, but this last year we added this awning edge so that we could create a wash and pack station as well as a potting bench. The roof of which then feeds a rain barrel that we use to irrigate as well as to sanitize the water and then wash produce, and then pack it for our markets or pack it for ourselves to take home. Over here is our new polytunnel. We had not the best success with the last one that we had. We bought it inexpensively, and we ended up replacing it once, and then the replacement actually was ruined, so we went and spent a little bit more money on this one. The problem with the last one was that it was aluminum framed, and it had a odd plastic mesh covering, and it fell apart. It actually, the sun and the elements and everything, actually, the plastic disintegrated. What's nice about this one, it's steel framed, as you can see. It has ventilation windows here and at the back. And then inside, we've got 2 beds that will have tomatoes on the left as well as greens and whatnot on the right. Coming back around, we've got our rain catchment system. It's still in its winter state, which means I haven't put the pump and everything back on it, but now that it's April, I will be putting the solar powered pump back on it. This set of solar panels powers a small 70-watt transfer pump that allows us to irrigate the garden via a system of bubbler or root watering, as well as having a spray nozzle when we want to just use that. You can hear in the background my chickens. We've got 5 of them here at Verdigris. We've got 2 of them at home right now. 2 of them had a little injury, so we're isolating them from the rest of the pack until I can get that injury treated and have them reunited with their sisters. This is 5 of the 14 that we have right now. We're raising 3 more small chickens in our house, and they'll be going out into our home coop shortly. We've got 5 chickens at the home coop, and we've got 5 here and 2 in the garage, so that's a total of 14. Here we have our blackberry bramble. It is in desperate need of some cleaning and pruning up a little bit. We've got to get some of the dead out of it and clean that up. But we've got a multitude of different kinds of berries in here. We've got thornless blackberries as well as traditional ones. A raspberry bush that actually did get pruned is our golden raspberries. We have both Ann and Fall Harvest Gold or Autumn Gold yellow raspberries here that have been very popular with us because they're delicious, and very popular with our customers. We are going to be expanding this bed out to its full amount this year. We're just mulching and killing some couch grass and some other items in this part of the bed before we can actually put berry canes in there. So we want to let them spread a little bit on their own, but then also kill off what's in here so that we can plant some more. Having a closer look at my chickens. Hello, girls. Hello. This speckled Sussex is really pretty. She's a very pretty bird, as well as the buff Orpingtons and our Easter eggers. The Easter eggers, we've got 2 of them, and they lay blue and green eggs. I'm not sure which one lays green and which one lays blue, but one lays green and the other one lays blue. Our buff Orpingtons, they lay a lighter brown egg. The speckled Sussex lays a speckled egg. The 2 chickens that are at home are copper marins, and they lay chocolate brown eggs. This is our red raspberry patch, also in need of a prune and a cleanup from winter. It just kind of got away from us. And we've got multitudes of red raspberry plants in here. We've got Caroline, we've got a Black Knight, and then we've got a couple of heritage varieties as well. So we're looking forward to a good season of red raspberries if I can get this one cleaned up in time. This is a little bit of our garlic. This is our giant garlic as well as some of our regular garlic. We've got 3 large beds planted. We planted those in the fall, and those will be coming out in July, and that will make room for winter squash that will go in. Some of our lovely garlic chives that we just sort of plunked in because we didn't have a place for them, and now they found a permanent home. So we'll probably add a few more to it because they're great for us in the spring and all summer long. The blossoms, when they do blossom, are terrific for the bees. There's one of our garlic beds, and there's another one. So those will come out in July, like I said, once everything cures and is set for the year. The next area that we're going to be working on, hopefully actually this afternoon, is our grape area. We set this up last year. We drilled post holes, and I planted grapes with the intention of putting in the full structure and wires, but we never really got to the wires. So we're going to try to get that done this spring so I can start training and pruning these grapevines. Eventually we're going to put a pergola top on it as well so that the grapevines can provide shelter. So we've got, I'm going to blank on the names of the grapes. I've got a few that I remember. This one is an Edelweiss grape, so it's a German one. It's good for Riesling wine. We're going to try our hand at winemaking. I'm not sure how successful we'll be at it, but we'll definitely try. This one is a Canadide. That is also a great one for making a ice wine or a Riesling wine. This one over here that is hidden almost by weeds, we're going to be cleaning that up. This one is a Lacrosse grape. That is from Stark Brothers, and it seems to be doing very well over here. That is a very cold tolerant grapevine. And then we've got this monster here that you can see all through it. It is quite large, and this one is a Frontenac, so it's a French grape variety. It actually extends all the way out to here, so we're going to get this up on some wire supports today and try to get them structured and back under control. We let it go a little bit last year. We had some personal issues and some health issues, but those are in the past, and so now we're looking forward to a great season. The one very nice thing about it is this wild violet. I think it's a violet, and it's spread itself all the way through the grape area, and it's a beautiful purple flower, and it is attracting bees like crazy. The centerpiece of the wine grape area is the statue of Pan that we bought last spring, I believe, and it is great. It's actually full-on heavy concrete weighs about 300 or 400 pounds. We had some great friends over the summer last year help us hoist the statue up on top of the pedestal, because it is not one piece, it is two pieces, so it was quite difficult to actually transport here, but it is a beautiful centerpiece to the grape area. Coming to the back, we're going to start with our apple trees that are already starting to leaf out, as you can see. This is a Cox Orange Pippin. This is a good eating apple and a cider apple, so we're going to try our hand at making cider eventually when these trees mature. This whole area back here is actually going to be sheet mulched, and throughout the year, whatever clippings, grass clippings, and whatnot, we're going to put on this area to sort of suppress the grass and to keep the soil very healthy and moist. We've also interspersed these trees with plantings of comfrey. So the comfrey is really great in the fact that it delves down deep into the soil and creates large taproots that pull nutrients up, and those nutrients are stored in the leaves. When they bloom, they're beautiful and they attract a lot of pollinators, but then what you can do midsummer is cut them down completely and then use the leaves as fertilizer. So you can see we've interspersed all of our trees with comfrey. We've got a couple in pots that are going to be going in that I started from seed last year and then overwintered in the pots out here. Those will go in between the rest of the trees, and we will have some terrific, a small mini orchard. This one is a Granny Smith. It's a vintage variety of Granny Smith, and it's already started leafing out as well for the summer. I, the other day, actually sprayed all of the trees with a dilution of neem oil. So I'll be doing that probably every 2 weeks for a while, just because I want to make sure that there are no predators or insects, and it's an organic way to deter them. The third tree, apple tree, is a Golden Delicious. Now, I know a lot of people really like Golden Delicious, and I am particularly not one of them. I don't particularly like the taste, but a lot of people do. But they do make a good cider, and they are a good fruiting or sauce apple. But the reason that I have this particular one is that it is the cross-pollinator for all of the other apple trees. So it was an easy pick just to put right smack in the middle of them all. So the cross-pollination of all of the apples that we've talked about and the ones that we're going to talk about are pollinated by the Golden Delicious. We'll make a quick stop here. Aside from the grass that is sprouting from the straw that I put down, we planted peas 2 weeks ago. They should start emerging here shortly. They do take some time to germinate, and I will be watering these areas in a little bit. So we planted 4 different areas of peas. We did 2 snap and 2 shell peas. So those go on these beautiful terraces or trellises that we built. These arches allow me to grow beans and peas and squashes and whatnot vertically, since we're so confined for space. This variety is called Orleans, and it is a heritage French variety. Also a good eating apple, good storing apple, good sauce apple, as well as finally a good cider apple. Moving on is a fully modern variety of apple called the Honeycrisp. Everybody likes the Honeycrisp. It's a terrific eating apple. I really like it. Our customers really like it. So we asked them in our first couple market seasons, what type of fruit that they would like, and this was a very popular choice. In the corner, we have a little dedication to spring. We love the representation of that, so the birds and the eggs and the bunnies and things like that. In Celtic or in pagan mythology, the bunny and the birds and everything are representative of Ostara, which is the spring, which is simply the holiday that just passed, which is the vernal equinox. So we put this in there just as a homage to nature, and a very dry bird bath that needs to be filled for the birds. Here's some more arches. We've got some repair work to do on this one because the strips, or the tie strips that we used, sort of gave way this winter. So we'll be replacing those before things get too tall. Moving on, we've got more comfrey, and we've got the beginnings of our compost. We started with 3 bins, and we just have a lot of waste, so we're just sort of piling it in right now where we have room, and we'll start building out. We'll probably end up doing 2 more bins and then start a rotation, but right now we just are kind of piling it in until we have time to deal with it. Here's some more projects that we're going to be working on. Aside from this beautiful, beautiful plum tree, which is a Japanese style, and it's yellow. It's a Shiro plum, and so it will actually produce yellow plums, hopefully for us. We'll go through and look at the other trees here in a moment, but this blue barrel here is actually going to be a fertilizer or compost tea bin. We're going to be putting a spigot on the bottom of it, flipping it up, filling it with water, and then taking a old pillowcase or muslin bag, filling it with manure, and putting it in there to create a tea bag. And then we'll take that liquid that comes out from the bottom and use it as fertilizer. We have a very large shell for a pond that we're going to be putting in actually right here. It's a large project. There's a lot of digging involved, and we're going to set up different landscape around it, as well as a pumping mechanism that runs on solar power. So look for that in future videos, probably not in 2019, probably a 2020 video, but it is planned, and we do want to add some more water here at the plot aside from what we're collecting. We want to add a not necessarily natural, but a source of water for the bees that we'll talk about here in a minute. We planted strawberries in these here plants, and we expected them to kind of cascade down and work their way down, and they didn't do terribly well last year. We're hoping to see if anything comes back from it, but if they don't, that's okay. We'll just try maybe herbs in this. But this was an experiment to see in vertical gardening. We actually ended up getting a step, a couple of them from the bargain bin at Home Depot for 70% off, and then we just added some scrap wood to create shelves and some planters from a discount store to add quite a bit of real estate in a very small space. But strawberries are not the thing to do here, so we're going to try something else. This next tree that we're talking about is an almond tree, and it's leaning right now because it needs to be reattached to its support. But this is what's called an all-in-one almond. So one, it produces multiple kinds of almonds, and they're all cross-pollinators of each other. Next is our structure for bees. So these are our two beehives that we have right now. We're going to be adding some more down at the other end here, but we built this structure based on something I saw on Pinterest. It's a little bit of a modification of it, but what it does is it protects the bees directly from, harsh winds, and it also protects them from having rain, pelting on them. And we also took this opportunity to create a rain catchment for it. So that rain barrel actually fills up quite a bit from just this small surface area. When we build our second one, we'll make another rain barrel, so we are fully self-sustained as far as water is concerned. Coming up here is chamomile. It overwintered beautifully. I'm hoping that we get a bumper crop of it because it makes a terrific tea for us that we combine with lemon verbena and lemon balm. It's very delicious. I love it as a summer tea, particularly as an iced tea, and our customers have really responded to it as well. I'm going to swing back around. This is the backside of our rain catchment to show you our greenhouse. So that is just about to go into full-on production. It is solar powered. We do solar power heat, and we do solar powered ventilation in there via a fan. And so as we clean that up, we'll be direct sowing some things into seed trays into the greenhouse now that it's warm enough at night to be able to do so. And we'll also be bringing some of the seedlings and whatnot from the home greenhouse over here so that they can be hardened off and planted out. This next plum tree is something that we also got from Stark Brothers out of St. Louis, Missouri. And it is what's called a Starkling Delicious. So it's a traditional red plum. It is also a cross-pollinator for the Shiro, so we will get all sorts of plums from these two plum trees, hopefully for us to enjoy as well as for our customers to enjoy. More of that beautiful wild violet, I believe it is. I'm not really sure what it is, but it is certainly pretty. We also are experimenting with vertical growing here. We took cattle panels, sheep and horse panels actually. They're normally 16 feet long, so we bought 3 or 4 of them, and we built these small beds. These are 2x4 beds, and then we put the vertical the 8-foot sections of that 16-foot that we cut with a bolt cutter attached to our fence, and it is for growing cucumbers and melons and whatnot. So these will go into production probably in May or late May or early June with cucumbers, as well as some winter squash that I want to experiment with growing vertically. This is our herb section, culinary herbs. Down at the end we had rosemary last year. We'll rotate that out. The sage is starting to green back up. What surprised me so much here is that this is French tarragon, and much of it survived, even the hard winter that we had. That was surprising to me. This is lemon balm. It's a member of the mint family, and it is very delicious, obviously, in teas. It's also great for skin abrasions and things like that, so we use it in a couple of our concoction salves and whatnot. This was coriander, but coriander bolted, so we had this empty bed for all of summer, and we've just covered it with straw. This is the Greek oregano, and it is starting to green up and come back. And then this was parsley, so we'll probably swap the rosemary and the parsley in this bed. Also just some grow beds there. We've got a variety of different kinds of beds. We bought some as well as we created some. So these gray ones we bought from a company called Lifetime. They are super easy to put together. They're not terribly expensive, but they aren't not as cheap as the rest of the wood beds, but these were very easy to put together by one person to be able to fill and then plant out in a very quick, short order. This is a cherry tree. This is a dual cherry tree, so this is both red and yellow. So they're emperor cherries as well as Bing cherries, and so it's done by grafting. Here's some more of the vertical gardening items that desperately need weeded and cleaned up. And then finally, this one I'm a little concerned with. This is something called a North Star pie cherry. And the concern I have with it is there's a lot of growth from the rootstock and not from the grafting. So I'm gonna have to take some of it down and really prune it and clean it up to make sure that we don't have a lot of weird stuff from rootstock as well, and then the actual cherries that we want don't come to fruition. So we'll do some pruning here shortly. Coming back up to the front of the garden, this is our rhubarb beds. So this is the second year for this rhubarb, and obviously we'll start taking some of it next year. We did some of it from seed and some of it from crowns that I already had. So those are those. And then we've got just sort of a hodgepodge. We've got a giant dirt pile that we're starting to whittle down to nothing as we fill beds and refill beds. And so we got a big load of organic soil. We've actually gotten 3 very large things of organic soil bought in and brought in, simply because we don't have enough on hand here to be able to do anything with. But we're shortly whittling this one down, and we'll eventually put some beds in its place rather than just have a big dirt pile. We've started some sorrel here, with 2 different kinds, like the French red sorrel as well as the common garden variety sorrel. That is it's a lovely green that goes great in stir fries or made of soup. It has a very bright lemony flavor. And then over here is a herbal flower, medicinal flower that actually is called hyssop. So hyssop tea is very delicious, and the flowers are marvelous for the pollinators. So I think we've come full circle coming around to our garden. I hope you enjoyed the tour and give us some feedback in the comments. Thanks for watching. Oh, and a little update on the grapes. I'm going to show you that we actually completed a little project today. Alright, so earlier the grapes were all disheveled and on the ground, and we didn't have any of the structures in place, but we decided that this afternoon we were going to put them into place. So we put tension wire on one side of it, and down at the other end we use one of the screw tighteners that actually tighten up the cabling, and so on each one of the poles we did 2. So as the grapes grow, they'll grow up and across. So we did this for all of the types of grapes. One more job completed in the spring garden.